All right. We got 8 hours.
Woohoo.
All right.
One of these days I will fill that. I will fill that time.
Not with me. I'm gonna start the recording then. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. It's here, a production of Galactic Netcast. I don't know what to do with my hands right now, so if you're watching the video, I'm just holding them straight up in the air. And for those of you who are not aware, have never listened to the show, this is basically we just talk about stuff that we want to talk about in the genre of horror, movies, attractions, games, neighbors, whatever. I'm joined today with a handsome devil from the California land, Corey Scott. Corey, how are you doing?
I'm freshly showered, not just like a horse bath, but I mean, I cleaned up just for you.
I took a shower too, basically because my hair was standing straight up. My wife told me I smelled like unbathed human. So I was like, I guess, and I had like gone out in public and stuff, and I'm like, I wish I would have known I smelled like musty balls before I went out in public. But what do I know? Uh, I'm going to turn it over to Corey so he can talk about a lot of fun things pertaining to what we do here.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to us before, we of the Podcast of Terror are part of the Galactic Netcast network. You can go to gncast.com and find out more about the network. You can find us on iTunes or Stitcher. On iTunes, you can give us 5 stars or you can give us less. That's fine. You can also find us on Stitcher where you can give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you go to Galactic Collective on gncast.com, you can join up by supporting our Patreon and help out the network a little bit, help us bring out new shows, help us promote through advertising now. We just hit our goal for...
Sorry, I just burped your ear.
Yeah, that was pretty good. We hit our goal for our... What was it? Backing up the netcast?
The first one was storage, and I haven't checked in a while. I'm gonna go there right now, but I don't. Wait for the internet. I know we had added one, which was for other stuff. God damn, internet is slow today. Yeah, the new one is for advertising. So the first one was for storage.
Storage,
And,
right?
server space. We
That's
got
right.
that.
But also you can find a lot of our other shows, which is kind of the big thing. You can find our Sci-Fi Geeks Club, which I was just on this week with guest Marianne Call with Dave and Brad. You can find Weird World Weekly, Adventure Party, Alien Invasion Podcast, and many other short casts that we have throughout the week. So, hey, if you like sci-fi, if you like gaming, aliens, adventure stuff, check us out.
Yeah. Did Brad tell you we had a nice candlelit dinner before you guys did that show?
No.
Oh, wow. Thanks. Thanks, Brad. If you're listening to this, we openly admitted that neither of us listened to the other's podcast. So I doubt he'll listen to it, but I'm still going to call him a dick.
Yeah, I found out that one of our producers on Else Nerds hasn't listened to this one, and I called him out on it.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
I get it. Like, I told Brad, I'm like, I'm sorry, man. It's just, board games aren't my wheelhouse. And he did agree to come on an episode in the future, which I said is kind of in return for being on an episode of his adventure party with a friend of mine who invented like a role playing game fighting system. And I said, that's the only one I listened to. And I only listened to it because I was there, and I still only listened to half of it. So it is what it is. But I'm sure I love you, Brad. No, I was in Wausau on Thursday, seeing cattle decapitation at a converted Catholic grade school that's now a music venue.
and that is a band that is not just what they do in Wausau.
You know, that was that's the second person that was like, you're gonna see a cow get their head cut off in Wausau? And I'm like, no, it's a band. I never once thought about it in the entirety of me being a fan of that band that people were just thinking that I was going to see a cow get their head cut off.
I'm from Michigan.
And I'm from Wisconsin, but that doesn't mean whatever. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. let's just go ahead and get into it. We this week we're doing a review of the pilot for the Fox new series Scream Queens that started.
Yeah,
You
so just right up front, I'm the one who suggested that we watch this because so far it is the only horror-themed show to start this season. Fox has been promoting the hell out of it. It's from Ryan Murphy, who's had Glee at Fox, but also has done the American Horror Story series and did Nip Tuck, which was a little bit freakish. So I was like, hey, we should probably check this out. And I should have apologized ahead of time.
Well, and the thing is going into this, I knew nothing about it other than seeing commercials and just thinking, this is not for me. I didn't know it was from the guy who did Nip Tuck, which I liked, or American Horror Story, which my wife and I like a lot. So having watched it and getting like halfway through it, I was just like, this is so fucking stupid. And I think it was because of how they portrayed the people. Before I get too on my soapbox and complain about how I didn't like the show, some of the bitches, some of the women that started was Emma Roberts, who plays Chanel, who's like the head bitch. I had to stop myself from using the unpopular C word that can often describe women because I dislike her character that much, but I guess that's probably the point.
That is the point. And I think that she would probably, I believe she even said somewhere in the episode that she was the head bitch or something to that.
I think it was like it started and she said I think it was the queen bitch she said, but it makes sense that Ryan Murphy's his name, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty basic name. We have a Ryan Murphy who helps out on Galactic Netcast, so I get confused easy.
Few people know it's the same guy.
Wait, what?
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I was like, what the fuck? Emma Roberts is on American Horror Story, and she's good at it, and I don't hate her. And if I was not married, I would be sexually attracted to her. And Skylar Samuels plays Grace, who's kind of the anti-Chanel. From my understanding.
She's who we're supposed to be rooting for. She's the what is it? The main girl? Is that the theme that they call it in horror movies?
Yeah, she would definitely be the main girl, I guess. I'm curious to see how it kind of pans out though, because Chanel. Well, I guess Chanel would be but there's the Red Devil. You know what I mean? So is Chanel or the Red Devil the villain?
Right
here.
Or are they the same person? There's a lot of questions as to who the Red Devil is at this point, and they haven't done anything to disprove really that Chanel is, but he keeps popping up. And this is someone who's actually wearing a devil costume. I have a Devil Goes Big painting that I should have put in here for this episode. So there's Leah Michelle, who was from Glee. There is Abigail Breslin, who was from Little Miss Sunshine, of all things. Nasim Pedrad from Saturday Night Live. And Jamie Lee Curtis, who is herself an actual literal scream queen, one of the head scream queens. And Nick Jonas and Ariana, I don't know her name, some little teen.
I didn't realize that Nick Jonas was Spoon.
Yeah.
Until right now.
Yeah, and as far as what his character is supposed to be, I'm impressed with how he portrays it.
Yeah, he did a good job of being like and I don't know if these people really exist. I'm sure they do, but I've never once met them. But he does a good job of personifying what I would assume would be like your typical trust fund douchebag.
Yeah. He and the guy who plays Chad, Glenn Powell, are perfect as that duo. Chad is at one point sitting there and he's making this whole statement of like girls love Chad or girls want to have sex with Chad and men want to have sex with Chad. You know, animals, probably plants, want to have sex with Chad. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it. I turn to my wife and go, I think I kind of want to have sex with Chad.
Everyone wants to have sex with Chad.
I think that was a well presented argument.
I would probably have sex with Chad. Chad, call me. Although I hear he's pretty bad in bed.
Yeah, that's true.
There's
But
that.
he is a snuggler, so there is that.
Yeah. I'm a sleeper afterwards. Uh, so don't touch me.
Yeah.
Depending on how, sometimes I just shower, but I'm a sleeper. Um, I mean, it's kind of hard to like judge what's going to happen given the fact that this episode you really only got to like meet people and get backstory. Um, but I don't think I can ever watch this again, to be perfectly honest. So, and the only intrigue I have in ever watching the show again is to figure out who the Red Devil is. But it's like I can't. I have such a hard time watching the Chanels and how they act.
This is a perfect meeting of American Horror Story and Glee. The characters are all incredibly superficial, just caricatures of high school students that have all just got that horrible attitude, even though they're in college. They're still very high school. It's over the top ridiculous in the dialogue. If someone's mean, they're not just a little mean, they're super bitch mean. And it's just a ton of infighting and backstabbing and everything, with someone actually literally stabbing people in the back.
Yeah, and I'm almost upset that I'm about to defend the Greek system, but my wife was in a sorority, and a lot of her friends to this day were in the sorority as well, and I just think it gives a negative connotation to someone that's never interacted with the Greek system. Now, yes, these people exist. I get that, but from my interaction, and I'm the complete opposite of what these people are. You know what I mean? Even when I would go hang out with the people in the Greek system, I was not someone that should ever join these things, but they were nice to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of upsetting to see it because you're giving people like this, and I get it, it's a TV show, and I get that it's supposed to be over the top. I get it, but I still think it kind of makes it look kind of shitty. They also don't live in houses like that. I've been inside a sorority house, and that there was a fucking dump.
Yeah. There's never been a nice depiction of the Greek system in movies. I mean, you go back to Animal House, and it's always there's the anti sorority or the anti fraternity, and that's the one that you're rooting for because they're just such a dirty mess, and everybody wants to get rid of them. But you've got your tri-lambs. It's always that's the case. No one's ever going to portray them as good people because they're the people that classically the nerds and the geeks and as everybody has had to root against. And now with nerd power, it's even more that case. It's a small thing in the midst of this. I mean, it is kind of what it hangs on, is everybody's part of the sorority where they did some shitty stuff in the 90s. And now it's kind of coming back to haunt them. But it also looks like they have a continuous past of bad things. When Grace went into that secret cave room downstairs, and she started finding all these other things, including the bathtub from the first episode. It seems like there's a lot more to this than what's going on. And to get to how many episodes it's going to have this season, it needs to kind of pad it out a little bit.
Right. And I'm assuming, knowing how Ryan Murphy has written his previous shows that I've watched, that it's gonna be a long time before you really figure something out. And I don't know. I don't know if I have it in me. Now, the fact that you said it best, where it's American Horror Story meets Glee, which means I might be able to talk my wife into watching this. But with that being said, that is a classic explanation of it's going to be a long time before anything makes sense. So it's like you got to invest a shit ton of time before you're going to have any idea of what's even happening or what's starting to happen. And that's I don't know if I got that in me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you're dedicating yourself to a show that you're watching week after week, and you're investing in the story, and sometimes that pays off, and sometimes it doesn't, or it stretches out way too long, and it depends on how they're doing this. I am at least interested, one, in the fact that we haven't even mentioned this yet. The cast is roughly 3-to-1 female to male ratio. All the leads are women. And then the secondary cast is much smaller, that is men. And they're all pretty much there as eye candy for the most part. And they are looked at as such in the in the show, whereas you have a little bit more variety. I'm not saying any of the actresses aren't beautiful, but there are some of the non-traditional attractive characters, including Earl Grey, who is the heavy feminist character, and they take more chances with the female characters in this, which is something I really like.
Yeah, I mean, I you looked at it from a completely different angle than I do. You know what I mean? I kind of just saw a train wreck, a constant train wreck. So.
Well, I do think horror does that more than other genres. It does seem like they will have not only a female lead in their movies more often, but I'm seeing more and more horror movies where it's all about the female characters and the guys are secondary, even if it's stuff where they are all being killed. If you go back to what is Black Christmas,
I never saw that.
Yeah. What was the one we were talking about a couple weeks ago where I was talking about they're all trapped in the cave?
The Descent?
Yes. The Descent is all women. My wife was watching that the other night. It seems a little bit more likely that they'll take a chance on a horror show for that, because I guess maybe because they like to see women getting stabbed. I don't know.
I don't know if it's that or
that's not really great.
No, not at all. But I think it's easier to root for a woman. Like you generally want a woman to come through in the end.
Yeah, the final girl.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, you want the woman to be fine in the end, because they're generally depicted as being kind of the easy ones to get. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But we saw The Green Inferno on Friday night, and that's.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right. My wife picked it. And I know, and at one point I'm like, is she gonna make it? But they like pull a guy's eyes out, and that freaked her. It didn't freak her out. It was gross. It was not a scary movie. It was a graphic movie, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's a problem I have with Eli Roth, is I don't think he's a terrific storyteller at all. He has one kind of film that he does, and I'm not usually a fan of his stuff.
No, and that movie was Cannibal Holocaust with minor tweaks. You know what I mean? And I've seen Cannibal Holocaust, and I will never see Cannibal Holocaust again. I will never see The Green Inferno again, but for different reasons. But the point I was trying to make is that is a female-heavy cast in terms of the American-speaking side. I mean, the tribe is kind of there, and they never speak English, so you never really know what's happening. But the girl makes it out alive in the end, and it's like you're rooting for her to get away because she's treated so poorly and all shit. And it's I going to assume that is why that they have a female heavy cast, because you want to root for the women in the long run, and you want them to pull through and whatever, and they're attractive, and 14-year-old boys can get their first boners. And speaking of boners, I thought it was really funny, Chad, like when he has that weird moment where he admits that he got his first boner to a dead body, and then Miss B's body's not there, and he's like, oh, I got blue balls, this sucks. Yeah. I laughed my ass off because I'm like, that's just fucked up enough for me to like think it's funny.
That it is a very dark comedy. It's closer to a Heathers than I think a lot of people are giving it credit for, which is not to say it's as good necessarily as Heathers. Heathers is a classic where I'm from, but it's still it seems to follow that mold. Heathers, Jawbreaker, Mean Girls. It's taking what those things have done, and it's going a lot darker. And that's what extremes are like these days.
And maybe I'm being ultra critical of what the movie, like what the TV show was meant for, just because I can't stand that type of person, and it's really blown out of proportion here. So maybe that's why I got pissed about it.
And I think that's part of it too, though, is that if you can't say that kind of person, there may be a sort of schadenfreude for watching them get killed. When Ariana Grande's character is sitting there and she's being texted by the murderer in the same room, standing a foot from her, and they're texting back and forth.
That fucking drove me nuts. A, I didn't realize it was Ariana Grande. But second, the fact that, like, I get it, he won't talk, but you're like, oh, I'm gonna stop and text. And then, oh, I'm gonna kill you now. And then she's like, what? And she's typing all this, and she's typing out this elongated whatever they're using instead of Facebook post. And he stabs her, and then she's dead. And it's like, oh, she didn't send it. And then she pops her head up and hits enter and dies. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I see
ridiculous.
when that happens, I see the Glee aspect in it, because Glee does a lot of shit like that, right? Too, where it's kind of over the top.
Right. It's not a serious horror anything. It's a comedy more than it's a horror show. And that's the thing, is that it's not scary in the least. It's
Fox not about a scary TV show. You know, it's just, I don't think Fox could fund it. It would not return anything for them.
You probably didn't see Dads last season. That was scary, terrible. But no, it's just, I like I've said before, there's been shows on TV that I think were more terrifying. I think Harper's Island was like this to a less serious note. Hannibal definitely had a heavy gore factor and could set you off. But this is more of a suspense comedy, emphasis on comedy. And I think you look at the actresses that are in it, Niecy Nash, some of the other people that have popped up in here, Nasim Pedrad, who is hilarious in this. I sort of love her character so far. Even Chanel number 3, who keeps wearing earmuffs, and I have no idea why. They're all very comedic.
And God damn you, Corey. Like, maybe I wanted it to be scary, and now that it's not, I'm pissed about it. But I wanted a serious show. You know, I didn't want like a horror comedy.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, is that people didn't really know what to expect from this. I don't know that it was necessarily pitched as one thing, but if you weren't seeing the commercials and seeing the way the characters were acting, we started watching it and we weren't thinking that we were going to get a lot from it, even though Aaron's a fan of American Horror Story stuff. And I was, for the first season or so, a fan of Glee. I was just still not expecting a lot from this. And then when they started doing the more ridiculous things, the death scene for deaf Taylor Swift killed me. I just couldn't believe it. When she's sitting there and they're all buried up to their necks in the dirt, and everybody else is screaming, and she says, "Are you screaming or are you singing? You know, are you singing Taylor Swift?" And she starts singing Taylor Swift as the Red Devil is riding a lawnmower towards her face. And she finally sees it at the last second. I was disappointed to see her go. And I think even the creator said that he was disappointed that she died off so early, because they fell in love with the character and the actress who played her. But that was just, I was like, okay, I can't wait to watch the next episode now.
Yeah, I might end up having to watch the whole fucking show. Yeah. God damn it! Now I'm just angry. Thanks.
So watch Scream Queens; it'll piss you off. There you go.
You know, I feel like I should at least give it one season. I'll give it one season and see where it's at. I'll try and give it a whole season. I mean, if I get a few episodes in and it's just garbage, then we'll see. But
you know, last season I watched Gotham for the first half. We came back a little bit after the winter break, and Gotham had some potential at the very first moment, and then it went way off the rails, and then it just couldn't decide what kind of show it was.
Yeah, it took a real steep turn. I did the same thing.
Yeah, a steep turd is more like it. So this show, if it stays with what it is, if it knows exactly what kind of show it's being, and it stays true to that, then I'm okay with it. I'm going to enjoy it. If it tries to twist it into a more serious show and loses the ridiculousness of it, and I have to keep wondering what show I'm going to get week to week, then I'll probably be pissed off and tune out. But at this point, it's so consistently ridiculous and has great comedy beats to it. All the characters being over the top, all of them just being caricatures, that I'm okay with that, because from beginning to end, if it sticks to that, great. I'm okay with not having a serious horror show if there's other serious horror shows to come. You know, I don't expect everything to be exactly the same thing. But you're right. If you came into this and you wanted that serious horror show and that's not what you got, then sure, this is not the show for you. But is it expectations that you had going in, or is it that this just isn't a show that you would normally enjoy?
Stop being so fucking reasonable about this TV show.
I don't know.
That's all I could think about. I was like, you just stop justifying it. I will watch it. Okay, just get over yourself. And to be perfectly honest, I feel like and that's the thing. I knew nothing about it going into it. Therefore, I didn't know what to expect. It was not what I wanted it to be, even though I didn't know what to expect, and I knew nothing about it. And I think I just got really butthurt. But the more we talk about it, the more I think I'm starting to understand. Like, maybe it's going to be a lot better than I think it's going to be, and maybe I should stop being a grumpy old asshole about it and just shut my mouth and watch this TV.
Yeah, I think what Fox said is they went to Ryan Murphy and they said, "Hey, you just finished Glee. What do you have for us next?" Because Glee did very well for us for a number of seasons, and he said, I want to do a horror show. And they said, how is that like Glee? And he's like, well, they're not going to sing, but they're going to scream a lot. And you won't get as much auto-tune. And so I can see why they chose this. If you stick it out to the end and I stick it out to the end, then let's say now that we'll do a review at the end of the season of how it finished out.
I will do that. I will. I'll give you that. You know, we can do that. You can probably hear my dogs barking in the background. Threw me off a little bit, but I will give it one full season to kind of see if I like it or not.
Yeah, and I have to because my wife's watching it.
And that's the thing. My wife does not. I don't think she even knows the show exists. So if I can get her to watch the trailer, or not the trailer, the pilot again, and she's into it, then I'll get stuck watching the whole thing, which is fine. But
and see how you feel watching the pilot again, if she is interested in seeing it, and see if you feel differently knowing what kind of show it is now.
I don't want to speak for her, but I think she will, because she liked Glee and we like American Horror Story, and she liked Nip Tuck. So yeah, I feel like I feel like a woman. Like I changed my mind halfway through. And, I'm like, maybe it's not so bad. You know, fuck you, Corey.
Thanks.
Throwing a temper tantrum, just throwing stuff around right now.
Hey, at least we get to look at Chad for a while, so that's okay.
That's true, and I think like just Chad and Boone being characters will be enough for me, because I can't think of the guy's name, but they remind me of it's American Horror Story, the Freak Show. It's the rich kid that he dates the twins with the two heads, or he tries to.
I remember the twins, and I thought everybody tried to. I thought Neil Patrick Harris tried to date them at one point.
Yeah, but this is the not involved with the Freak Show guy. He like goes to Washington. He lives with his mom, and he wears the clown mask at one point. I can't think of his name, but that guy. He reminded me of that guy. Less murdery. So I guess I don't know. I can't rate it because based on one episode. You know what I mean? I can't really decide. To be determined number of dead hookers.
Yeah. I'm at this point, I'm probably at a 4 out of 5 because I thought that it was funnier than I expected it to be, but I did expect it to be funny, and it's just as scary as I expected it to be, which was not at all. So,
how much like research going into it though did you do on this?
Just seeing the commercials for it, just watching stuff on TV and seeing them advertise this over and over again. As soon as I saw Emma Roberts playing the stereotypical character that she's kind of played the last couple of seasons on American Horror Story, I was like, okay, well, I know what that is. When I saw Lea Michele in the headgear, then I had a better idea as to what kind of show this was going to be. It was going to lean more towards comedy. And Niecy Nash in the commercials, they showed the point where she was sitting there with the other guard and saying, why do you have a knife sticking out of your neck? I was like, okay, so I know what this is too.
Okay.
She's basically playing Ella Cool J in the Halloween H2O movie.
Dear God. We might have to watch that one. It is almost October now, so I don't know. Maybe we'll cool it on news and just do nothing but movie reviews for the entire month of October. Just really bad slash. You know what? Do you have anything else to say about the show?
No. I'm stuck, so
fair enough.
I'm glad I sort of enjoy it.
yeah. I'm curious to see where it goes. But you making the LL Cool J reference kind of made it a decent segue to just kind of wrap this whole thing up. But if you have, you being the listener, not you being Corey, something you want us to review or watch, or something you think we might like, or something you want to hear us make fun of, please, by all means, send us emails at galacticnetcast@gmail.com. And then there's, go to the website, there's forums, all that stuff. Leave us a voicemail, like Corey mentioned earlier in the show. That's all I got for Scream Queens. So
yeah. And then we had taken a couple suggestions on the Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/galacticnetcast, you can also join us up there. And there was some suggestions from Dave of doing some classic movies. And I had mentioned that I would like to do the entire run of the Pinhead
Hellraiser
stuff, the Hellraiser films.
I think we might have to pick and choose because there's some real steamy turds in there.
Yeah, but that's the point, isn't it?
Well, I want to say they're up to like 8 or 9 now, and that's a lot of movie. But I actually bought it from Japan way back in the day. It's like some bootleg series box, and it's just the cube.
Nice.
Yeah. I still got it. Maybe I'll bring it out when we do that episode. But yeah, that's all I got. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the podcast Terror.
Take care.
See ya. All right. Yeah, I think my shit was.
And it stays true to that.
That's you talking. Not a proportion here.
Yeah, I could keep hearing myself a little bit.
Yeah, I was like clicking, and I feel like Dave. Like I would open a web page, and it would just slow the whole shit down. And it's like usually my internet's not this bad. Let me do something here real quick before we start the next one. I know we're still on YouTube, but gotta save this anyways.
It doesn't matter who watches YouTube. Everybody's on Twitch.
What's that?
I said everybody's on Twitch.
Oh, I never really watched Twitch. Just watch Twitch.
No, I'm kidding anyways.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know shit about anything, man. No. Give me a new one. No. Waveform. No. Come on, you dumb son of a bitch. So 8 already?
Yeah, I think you said we were doing 7 and 8.
Yeah, which is impressive. We have 515 different downloads for the episode so far.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of the same thing I said.
Wow. Oh, I forgot to mention, why do they keep playing 80s music during the show?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because the show takes place in today, and my wife, she goes, when does this take place? I'm like, oh, this is today, but it started out in 1995 in the opening scene. She's like, okay. It just doesn't feel like... look at that jean skirt that she's wearing. I'm like, yeah, that's part of her character.
She comment about how she had some repressed something or other, and that's why she was dressing the way she dressed.
Yeah.
So, are you fucking kidding me? Every time I open tab, it crushes something. So hopefully I can open them all now, and it won't murder the feed. Although I don't really need to be there. It's awesome of you. I'm lazy. I put nothing in there for the first one, so I'll keep that tab open. Oh, excuse me. Okay. You ready to start the next one?
Sure.
Oh, don't be so pumped. Guten Morgen? I tried doing one in Spanish. I was trying to do one in German. I forgot all my German. You're listening to the podcast. It's here. This is a production of Galactic Netcast, and you're listening to the ill-fabled news episode, which I think it's going to start becoming a thing because I got this guy, Corey, who always comes to hang out, and he does all the work for me. As he did this time. Yeah, which was awesome. I was sick all week. So Corey's just like, I got all these news stories. And I looked and there was full of news. So I'm like, I guess we're doing a news episode. And because Corey took the helm on that, he also gets to tell you about everything Galactic Netcast.
Yeah, Galactic Netcast. That's where we're from. You can come find us there. We are at gncast.com. Or you can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Galactic Netcast. And you can check out our different shows. You can see the daily news stuff that Dave is putting up in regards to the different shows. He's got stories about sci-fi and aliens and Weird World Weekly and a bunch of great stuff that relates to the shows that we do and other stuff in general. All geeky great things. And if you go to patreon.com/Galactic Netcast, you can support our network with $1 a month. You know, something really lightweight like that. You wouldn't even think about it. You just go, what happened with $1? I don't remember having $1. Well, now I don't. And that works for us. We don't care. By the way, I know we've talked about it in the first episode that I was on, at least. Matt mentioned the Patreon. He's like, yeah, pay us so that we can keep doing this and quit our jobs. No one's making any money of this. It's to support the network. It's to support the shows. Dave isn't collecting the paycheck from it. None of us are getting paid for this. We're doing this because we're having a good time. If we get super rich, then yeah, sure, great. But right now it's about...
I hate doing this. I'm against my will.
that makes up for me being a dick the last time. But it allows us right now. We're looking at doing some advertising, trying to grow the network a little bit. We want to keep encouraging growth of the network for the shows, doing new things. We've got a couple of our shows went up on Alpha Geek Radio, and we really like the fact that they've been supportive of us, and we want to just try to go up to that next level. So that's what supporting a Patreon would do. Otherwise, you can give us feedback by emailing us at galacticnetcast@gmail.com, or on gncast.com. You can find a place where you can call us, leave us a voice message, and we'd appreciate it. You can talk about this show. You can talk about other shows. You can just talk about how your day went, you know, what you're having for dinner. It's like an Instagram with your mouth. We're okay with that.
I love food and recipes, so I will gladly talk to someone about food. I got salsa chicken in the slow cooker right now.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to make food for the week, you know. Because
I made myself a nice omelet before I got on in here, so I'm not the sex term of an omelet. I don't want to.
No, that's not what I was thinking of. I love eggs and omelets and everything. I love food. Like last night, I ate a bunch of fried chicken for dinner, which is probably a bad thing to do, but it is what it is. I'm going to eat a pint of ice cream after this, and I'm drinking. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I guess 4 is not that bad.
I have an issue that I've had since I was a little kid, which is I can't eat food that I recognize as to where it came from. So I can only eat chicken if it's not on the bone and has been processed like hell. Or I can't eat like something that looks like the original. If someone says to me, oh, you're eating this cow that I introduced you to earlier, I'm going to freak out and not be able to eat. So yeah, I live by a simple rule, and that rule is never stare directly at the McNugget, which is I don't want to know where my food comes from.
See, people are always like, yeah, I watched Super Size Me, and I won't eat McDonald's. I said, I watched Super Size Me, and I was fucking hungry. I have a goal in my life, and that is to eat 52 or more chicken McNuggets in one sitting. I've done 40. I got 52 or more is the next one. I'm going to try and get 60 sometime.
We used to do a competition to see who could make it through the most sacks of White Castles when I was a kid. It led to me being here today with the diabetes. So
the closest White Castle to me is like a few hours south, and I've still never eaten at one.
The good news is that what you get from the freezer section in your grocery store tastes exactly like White Castle because they microwave them there too.
That's what I've heard, and I've eaten the freezer section once, but everyone's like, well, you don't really need to eat it. Now you've already eaten it. It's like, I kind of still want to go just to go because they're like 79 cents a cheeseburger, aren't they, or something
yeah,
silly?
But they're little teeny, burgers.
I want to go and eat one to say that I've eaten one.
Well, you can't eat just one. It's like Pringles.
I didn't say that I would. I didn't say I would go there and for a meal. I would stop there and get one cheeseburger and leave.
Yeah, and then you go someplace else to eat because that would not do it for you.
That's the point. That's the point. I would have.
It would
a
heat the
real
flu
somewhere.
of your hunger.
I would eat a White Castle cheeseburger as an appetizer for real food. So it's like eating diarrhea before a steak.
That's true. It'll make sure that that steak gets through you really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just lubes. It lubricates your entire gastrointestinal system.
Yeah, microwave meat does some wonderful things towards your digestive tract.
Oh, all right. You're killing my food boner here. Let's enough White Castle. Let's talk about some
Let's talk about other stuff that can make you shit.
some fucking news.
This is right.
We'll start off with and this is one Dave suggested, but it is something that I was familiar with a while ago, but I'm too scared to play it. It's a cell phone game called Night Terror. It's not out yet. There was a Kickstarter, which I believe ended quite a while ago, so I don't know where they're at in terms of funding or development, but you're supposed to play it in your house with the lights off with earbuds in, and it uses some space age technology to determine how your house is built, and then it takes the story of the game in which you are trying to find a girl who's lost. I don't know if it's in your house or on the other side of the nether realm kind of thing, but like it builds your house, and as you're walking around, there are like shit'll jump out at you, and you can hear the girl screaming from other rooms, and as you get closer she gets louder and things like that. And it's a really cool concept, but the fact that you want to turn my house into a nightmare land is no bueno. Like, maybe if I go to someone else's house and they have it, or I could maybe play it without the earbuds in, but I'm like, no, like, it's a really awesome concept, and they used a lot of really insane technology to do it. And I hope that it just makes a shit ton of money because it's so awesome, but it is not for me to play.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it and it reminded me of an old PS2 game called Fatal Frame, where you're walking around with a camera and you're seeing the ghost of the camera and stuff.
Yeah.
Except you're right. It involves your own personal space, which is some crap. That is not nice to do to somebody.
Yeah, you can't disconnect yourself when it's turning your house into a nightmare.
I would rather have this be one of those famous viruses that winds up on your cell phone that never seem to pop up in the real world, but everybody talks about it online all the time, where it just infects somebody's phone and they don't know it, and they're going and they're taking a picture of something, and all of a sudden ghosts start popping out at them. That would be way cooler.
That would be super awesome. I wonder if they'd do that. Like, there'd have to be some sort of somewhere they would let you know that there's a possibility that would happen, but that'd be pretty fucking cool.
I like horror that it involves you that you don't know that it's happening. Glenn Rubenstein, who is from he works at Twit, and he is one of the original people with Dave that I met online when they were doing their What Else Is On. No, I'm sorry, their What We're Watching Weekly show on Spreecast back in the day. That's how I met Dave. He talked about when the Carrie remake came out, they had a number that you would call, and you would hear Carrie on the other end of the phone, and she would be like whispering to the phone because she's locked in her closet, hiding from her mom. And then when you hang up, it would call you back. It would wait a little while, and it would call you a couple of times with more messages from her, still with like in character in the movie. It was crazy weird, and they had to stop doing it because people weren't aware that it was going to happen. Like, they were going to get calls back. So they had to give you an opt-in. But for that first person who's doing it and had no idea and just getting these callbacks from it, that seems terrifying to me.
Yeah, especially if you didn't. I mean, if you didn't. Yeah, that's and that. When did that come out? That was
like 3 years ago now, I think.
Oh, it was a little 3 years ago. I thought it was more than that.
Maybe more.
I feel like it was long enough ago before the internet was, so readily full of people trying to like ruin things for you, and it was before a time in the internet where you could just go on and figure out, be like, oh, this is just what happens. This is just fucking with me. That would make it much scarier.
Yeah, I mean, it's those surprise things that they kind of regulate now, or we're sort of guarded against. It used to be that we didn't have caller ID, so when somebody would call you and prank call you, it can be terrifying because you had no idea who they were. Now it's like the age of you can block numbers, you can see who's calling. I remember with three-way calling, I had a friend who used to call me and then call like a pizza place or a police station or something else on the other line. And I would never know that he was in the middle. So I'm like getting a call and they think they're getting a call and he's just cracking up in between. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's weird when your technology betrays you, though, the things that you trust. So your phone betraying you, your computer betraying you, those are bad enough. Your home betraying you, like what this game is basically doing, is setting you with a full paranoia in your own house. That's crazy. It also reminded me of that Slenderman movie that we watched.
Yes. Yeah. You gotta have it. Yeah. Fuck all of that. 100% fuck it. Yeah, so I'm curious to see. I don't know if they even have a release date. There wasn't one listed. Check it out.
I tried to find it. It's definitely not in the Play Store. I don't know if it's on iTunes yet, but I don't even know if they're... Usually these things hit the iPhone before they hit Android.
Yeah, and this was... I'm going to see if I can look it up on the Play Store real quick. But this Kickstarter was only like a few months ago at most. So if it wasn't 100% developed and they just finished their Kickstarter, then there's absolutely no way that it's coming out in any sort of reasonable amount of time.
When I was investigating this, though, I did see an Oculus Rift game that someone is making that is basically like being in a house and being stalked in your own home. One of those kind of slasher films things where you're experiencing it all in 3D in a virtual reality. And that also looked terrifying. Even though it wasn't my house, it just looked very well done and very realistic. And just going through the house quietly. We did a story on Sci-Fi Geeks Club this past week that was about going through the Enterprise D from Star Trek The Next Generation, but there are no people there. And that's also kind of eerie. But when they try to make it purposely so, it really does creep you out. It's pretty good. So there's more of these kind of horror games coming, and it makes sense. You played that one on PS4 recently, and it's getting a lot of really good reviews. So there's truly a market for that. My wife always says she wants these games, and then gets 5 minutes into them, starts screaming, and can't play them anymore. Which works great for GameStop.
I was always a big fan of like Silent Hill, but I could never really get through them. Until Dawn, I got through pretty easily, and I don't know if it's because I only chose to play it while it was light outside, or what. But yeah, horror games are kind of everyone loves being scared. That's why haunted houses are such a big ass thing, and now you can go. My wife sent me a link. You can stay in a guy's house who built an exact replica of Michael Myers' house in Florida. And it's not like to scare the shit out of you. He just has a party. Open invite to the world. And they're going to be watching some movies.
Yeah, but wasn't there the last Halloween movie, wasn't one where they had a big house party in the house?
Yes. So I don't know if something's planned that you're not aware of, but from what I saw, it's just come on over. I'll make you some food and we're going to watch some movies and hang out.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to the next one. You want this one? You brought them all, so you might as well read them all.
Right on. So Clive Barker is producing a TV series based on his novel Weave World for the CW. It says, so the CW is developing Weave World, a drama series based on the horror fantasy novel by Clive Barker. A genre writer, filmmaker is set to executive produce the project, written and executive produced by Jack Kenny of Warehouse 13. Show gives a contemporary makeover to the premise of the novel, which was published in 1987, and the TV adaptation app designer teams up with a young pastry chef who has just discovered that she is destined to be a guardian of the mythological realm that can be accessed through a portal in an old Savannah mansion. Together, they fight an epic battle with the evil forces who are vying for control of the magical world, and it's from CBS Studios.
I'm gonna have to find this book now if they are gonna do a TV show. But I think it's funny that you had this in there. We were just talking about the Hellraiser movies and how we want to do a review on all of them because you love punishment.
Yeah. But also we talked on the last news episode about the Friday the 13th series that they're talking about doing on CW. So CW is definitely going after more of a horror thing as well. And like we said before, there's Scream on MTV based off of that series. It seems inevitable that we'll get more Nightmare on Elm Street. In fact, I think that's a story coming up down here. But yeah, like you said, horror is getting to be a big genre again. It more people are kind of leaning towards it, and in TV, which is to me very interesting because it's one thing to sit through a couple hours of a horror film and get something out of it, but when you have to stretch it out for a number of episodes, and if it's a thing where people keep dying, how do you keep the cast fresh from all that, and how do you get past the ridiculousness of it when it's supposed to be over a longer period of time? We'll have to see. But one of my favorite books, actually two of my favorite books, are The Great and Secret Show and Everville from Clive Barker. And I've got Weave World, but I haven't read it yet. It's one of those things that I just kind of had sitting on my shelf for too long. But I think it's going back on my list now.
I'm bad at reading. Like, I bought the autobiography from the singer Lamb of God who did time in Czech Republic prison. He was being accused of murder. And the thing showed up, and it's like 400 pages, and I've just been staring at it. And I'm like, I really want to read it, but that is a lot of reading.
It takes some dedication.
Yeah, so I'm better with a book on tape. With the amount of driving that I generally do by myself, I'll listen to book on tape during long drives versus music any day. So I can sit and listen to music at my desk all day, every day at work. So
yeah, and this is old enough. I mean, not only do I think that it's probably on Audible, but you might actually be able to find it as a book on tape if you still have a cassette player.
Yeah, I don't mean physically on tape. Audio. We'll go with audiobook now. I guess that's the better term, anyways.
Yeah.
Dick.
Unless you're driving around with an 8-track player.
Fuck you. I actually don't have an 8-track player. I don't have a tape deck anymore either. We moved. I put in like aftermarket stereos in both my cars so that I had Bluetooth for my phone. So if I'm driving, someone calls, it's work. I don't have to hold the phone.
Yeah.
Safety first, safety last, safety always, kids.
Don't text and drive, asshole.
Yeah, don't mess with Texas. The next story, Trick or Treat 2 is finally happening. We talked about Trick or Treat, or did we talk about Trick or Treat?
We talked about both. We talked about Trick or Treat, and then we both said, but Trick or Treat was a really good movie too.
So funny. Since that last episode, we talked about Trick or Treat, the one with Gene Simmons. There is the soundtrack's really shitty, probably in my opinion, but there is a band on the soundtrack called Impaler, whom are from Minneapolis, and I found out that a buddy of mine that him and I had talked about, I talked about having him on an episode, is actually the guitar player for the band Impaler now. So
awesome.
I'm like, that might be kind of funny to have him on an episode. Maybe I'll make him watch Trick or Treat if I can find it.
Yeah, goddamn. And if you can find it, I want to watch it again too, because I haven't seen it since the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Kyle is my age, so he was not in Impaler when this movie came out because we were both like infants. But I just thought that was funny. So, anyways, back to Trick or Treat 2, Trick or Treat. It's the sequel to the 2007 movie. Directed by Michael Daughtry. I hope that's not the singer.
No.
It's not the singer, but what is it? The tricky thing is that we are announcing Trick or Treat 2, just finishing the screenplay for Krampus. Oh, so it's got a Krampus 2, which I'm kind of curious to see how that turns out, since my only interaction with Krampus is from The League, the FX show about fantasy football.
Yeah.
Because Taco always talks about Krampus. So the co-writers just too tempting to not do Krampus. So it sounds like he was doing Krampus Trick or Treat 2 at the same time.
It sounds like he put Trick or Treat on hold
to do
because
Krampus.
He was doing Krampus and he wanted to get Trick or Treat right. Trick or Treat is it's more of an anthology, so it's 4 or 5 different short horror stories that take place. We talked about it a little bit last time. It was like the Creep Shows or Tales from the Dark Side, those kind of movies. But it had a very good modern cast, popular actors and actresses, and honestly, it was a good film. The stories were nice and creepy and dark and horrible, and had a good amount of black humor to it as well. It was a really good flick for what it was, and I I still kind of feel like it's underrated. Like I don't see it get enough due. I think people who are horror fans that have seen it like it, but it just didn't seem to get the mainstream backing that I would expect that it should have for being what it was.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I vaguely remember seeing it a long time ago. I didn't hate it. I just remember the kid with the pumpkin head and thinking that was weird. But it's probably what they were going for. So, I really want to get to this last story. Like I rushed through everything to get to this last one because I'm excited about this one.
Me too.
So that I keep my shirt on, I'll let you talk. I'll let you bring it up.
All right. So, like I was saying earlier, all these shows that are getting revived on the CW and other stations based off of horror franchises. One thing that we've been missing is Nightmare on Elm Street. And after the remake recently, I wouldn't necessarily say missing, but
remake.
It was just a very different film.
Yes, and I think that was okay with me that it was different. You're not going to get the original Nightmare on Elm Streets back, so you got to be open about the remakes. And I guess I saw briefly that they're talking about another remake, and I think was it the Dream Warriors that they were referencing?
It seems like it. So Robert Englund says that he thinks that a Dream Warriors remake might be happening. And part of the reason why he thinks that is because of Tuesday Knight, who replaced Patricia Arquette in the Dream Master film after Patricia Arquette played in Dream Warriors. Tuesday Knight, I guess, has been talked to by the people who are working in the franchise now. And Robert is guessing, and this is seriously just like total rumors and conjecture at this point, and he even says this, is that he thinks if they're inviting Tuesday Knight back, it may be to play the mother of the character that she played in Dream Master and who Patricia played in Dream Warriors. So he thinks that they are doing a remake of the Dream Warriors, which was arguably, out of the sequels, the best sequel besides New Nightmare.
Dream Warrior 4?
Dream Warriors was 3. Had the Dokken song on the soundtrack.
Okay, and then so Dream Warriors was 3, Dream Masters was 4.
Dream Master was 4, and they took the 3 characters who lived out of the third one, and they passed the dream power along to the new character Alice, who then went on to be in Dream Child, which was number 5 as well. So it was a legacy push, but they did kill like Kincaid and the guy who's, I can't remember his name, the guy who couldn't talk in number 3. They killed their characters at the beginning of before.
Man, those were good. Like I loved those movies. 3 and 4 especially. 5 was, I didn't hate. Freddy's Dead was probably my favorite because it got a little ridiculous. And then they had the 3D part at the end.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. But
was 5 the one where the guy fought Freddy while he was invisible? It seemed like their budget was completely just ganked. Maybe that was 4. It was one of the guys was in his dream. He was doing karate, and then he winds up fighting Freddy, but Freddy's completely unseen. So it's just a guy kicking around in a white room by himself. It was super shitty.
Gotta look all these up on IMDb now. I think that was when they started to kind of go down, unfortunately. Anything's better than 2.
Well, and I want to talk about that for a second because there is, I'll give you a link for the doc. There is a story about the guy who played in number 2. His last name's Patton.
Yeah, he did some documentary.
He's mostly done with the documentary. They are doing a Kickstarter to finish it off. It's called Scream Queen, not to be confused with Scream Queens. My Nightmare on Elm Street, and it is about the fact that when he was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which the filmmakers didn't realize at the time, it got completely derailed because everybody thought that it was all about a lot of gay innuendo and subtext, and they're like, we don't see any of this. And there's a scene with the coach getting beat on his naked ass with a wet towel in the shower. There's a lot of stuff where England himself actually says he's like doing like an oral thing with the kid in the movie. The kid in the movie is not gay, but the actor who played him was, and he feels like there was a lot of stuff that he should have been more open with at the time, and that it's kind of made his life hell being a gay actor, and not feeling like he could be out in Hollywood. But having this movie that is for a lot of gay horror fans has become sort of like a big deal to them, because they got to see stuff up on the screen that they related to in a way that, you know, other people who were just going to see it on Elm Street didn't. It looks like a really cool documentary, and I just wanted to kind of mention it's because it is looking for support on Kickstarter. I liked Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but it was kind of like Season of the Witch and Halloween. It did not feel like, other than Freddy, it didn't feel like it really connected to the rest of the universe.
Right.
With, you know, what they went back to with Dream Warriors, and then going down the line through Dream Master and Dream Child, they did go back to that original storyline. They involved Nancy again. They involved her father. And then they just kind of passed it along each time. Nightmare on Elm Street 2 didn't do that. But I don't think that means it's a bad film. It's just, there is a lot of gay subtext that, intentional or not, was there, and I think it makes it harder to watch. And then there's the part where Freddy comes out of the dreams into the physical world, which also kind of sucks.
I want to say I've watched this movie like twice, and I just do not care to watch it again, which, whatever, but it does not get a lot of good reviews.
No, you know, I think, frankly, we love the films more for their cheesiness, and we accept their down parts when they aren't necessarily great films, but they evoke something. They evoke a connection because of the character, because of Freddy, and because of the storylines of attacking us in our dreams. Just like we talked about earlier with your house working against you, your mind working against you, your subconscious doing something that you can't help, which is sleep, and feeling like you're not safe in that one thing that you should be. That's, I think, why people connect to it.
I could not agree more, and I think that we should do a review of all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies after we do Hellraiser.
I'm all for that. I had bought the entire DVD set years ago for Aaron, my wife, when it came out. I had to go find it at another Best Buy store because mine, for some reason, didn't have it. And I would watch all of them again. We watch tons of them all the time. She was watching New Nightmare the other night.
Oh, nice. I own the same box set, so I know what you're talking about. But yeah, we're gonna get it on the docket.
Yeah. And the last thing about the remake, though, is that Robert Englund said it would be kind of cool for him if he got invited back to not necessarily play Freddy, but to play the guy who's the doctor from the Dream Warriors movie, who's basically talking to the kids about their dreams in the medical ward.
Yep.
And that would be great to see him come back into the series somehow.
They almost have to. You know, he's such an iconic character, and no matter what, you see him and you always be like, oh, it's Freddy. Like he was in Strangeland, which everyone hates that movie. I love that movie, but they're like, oh shit, it's Freddy. Like, you know, his character has nothing to do with anything relating to Freddy Krueger, but that's Freddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anytime he shows up in the Sharknado stuff, or he was in Zombie Hookers, or Zombie Strippers, sorry. He's great because he's Robert Englund. He's a great character actor. I loved him from V, even before Nightmare on Elm Street, where he plays an actually really sweet guy as one of the aliens. But
wow,
it would be fantastic to see him come back into this series, what he's most known for. And then the question is, who covers Dokken's Dream Warrior song?
I just saw that. That would be fucking awesome. And that's when back in the day when movies, they wrote music for movies. It's not whatever. That is a different conversation, me complaining about top 40 radio right now.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Trick or Treat, and then we talked about Shocker as well, I think, a little while ago. And Shocker had the main song for the movie was like this mega band that had Paul Stanley and a bunch of other people in it that just formed for this one song for this film.
Go
figure. The song was a bigger deal than the movie was, and the song really wasn't that good. But it was written by Desmond Child, who had a lot of hits.
Oh well, where are they now? Exactly, all the hits went up their nose. I actually don't know. I have no basis. I don't know. So I think that wraps it up for another news episode, which I'm proud of us. We've done two. I promised. I promised them. Finally did them, and now we're doing them for reals.
And it sounds like we gave ourselves more work, which is even better.
Yeah, right. Like I said, maybe we'll just I don't know. We'll watch a bunch of fucking movies. It'll be awesome. So thank you, the listener, you sitting wherever maybe you're driving to work. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us talk stupid at each other about things that we enjoy and that you keep coming back. Tell your friends, because it's kind of crazy that people listen to this. But
they might drive to work too.
Yeah, right. They'll have to listen to something while they're driving to work. So why not podcast Tear? But yeah, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, have a great day.
Take care.
All right, man. Now I'll have to turn up your take care because you sound like a fucking bird.